Good morning, everyone. You are part of the Mind Your Business. And we've got a gentleman here with us today. And Isaac was introduced to me a few months back by one of our job developers. And I thought it was a unique opportunity to hear his story today. Interesting when you run into people along the way in life. As we've been building this Newton Services Foundation and Mind Your Business came up, everyone said, "What's mind your business? That sounds rude." And I said, no, it's more about, mind your business. Get your act together, get your life together. Well, sometimes people don't know how to do that. And sometimes they haven't had that background that had to teach them the grit. And so I want to align myself with people that know grit, know how to really align themselves with other good people, other good nonprofits, but also people that have been through something. We don't come through the fire and end up backwards, right?
Right.
Typically, if we go through the fire, we kind of...
I don't know, you could be a victim if you want to.
Yeah, it's a choice, right?
But I'd rather be a survivor.
Isaac, why don't you just take the floor for a minute and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into maybe your story, if that's comfortable.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll just get going, and you cut me in when you need me to cut me in. Is that cool? So my name's Isaac Walsh. I work with a group called Spiritual Warfare Unit, and we work with faith-based drug rehabilitation groups and veterans, specifically housing. We're working with Freedom Lake right now out in Lapeer, and they have jail holds up to 25 guys.
Wow.
And as long as they got, they're honorable, she puts them out there, and we have people donate to do that, and it's a really wonderful thing for homeless vets.
How did they pick that? So that's 25 people being housed on a regular basis. Is there a time period? Is there a criteria that we can help send people?
Yeah, so homeless, honorable, discharged, DD-214, right? They can have depression, they can have PTSD, they can have issues. If they're homeless, she brings them out there, and she forces them to get a job, which is great. And it's $500 a month, and that's what the donation's for. This woman's paid for everything out of pocket. She hasn't taken a single dime, and she's extremely passionate, and if you are not prepared, she will run you over, and I love that.
Well, see, I love that concept because our nonprofit is a little different. Like we use Michigan Rehab Services, and we have the SSA ticket to work. And a lot of those veterans might have that ticket. So it's interesting that you're bringing this to me because for us, we're all about how do we create jobs.
I was literally going to talk to you about this off camera, but it was like making a phone call for you two is a dumb no-brainer.
Right?
It's like, because she's looking for vets, they're looking for work. A lot of them have some kind of disability. Like this is, we'll talk about this later off business. But thank you for your support. And but yeah, it's super easy. And what you're doing, like being a disabled veteran myself, it's one of those things I actually wanted to get with you just so we can say that we're doing it. Literally, I was going to work that out. Also off camera. Anyways, but you did ask about my story. So August 9th, 2009, I'm taking my daughters home. Get off Clio Montrose exit, hang a left, and you know how they got the bridge that comes out there before the gas station. So lady pulls out in an F-250. Now right in front of her was another F-250 with one of those white covered trailers. And so I couldn't switch lanes. And if I kept going forward, the lady's car was going to T-bone into my wife and daughter's side of the car. I had a split-second decision. Bang! Took it head on. Helicopter 2.5 times. The next thing I remember is I smell the airbags. I don't know what to do. I'm disoriented. I ask my wife if she's okay. Daughter's screaming in the back. Go to get out. Door's jammed. Adrenaline kicks in. Rip the door open. Step out on my left leg. Pain shoots up. I know something's broken. I check on my daughter. She's just scared. And then I collapsed. And I remember the clouds turning purple and yellow and green. And I remember the last thing I said was, I did okay. And then I was gone.
What's crazy is in these stories, right? Significant, because you haven't told the whole thing yet.
Yeah.
But isn't it crazy how God creates adrenaline to get us through the initial steps? You checking on your family.
Yeah.
You're checking on your wife.
My daughters and my wife. Yeah.
And you're sitting there probably in a state of shock.
Shock's a good word, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, shock and or awe.
But you're pretty messed up, right? Is
Very.
That fair?
Yeah. Yeah, I died. And luckily there's that big boy there, and the ambulance had just left. And they revived me after 2.5 minutes. That's its own story we're not getting into. Don't remember the ride to the hospital. And come to find out later, it took about 15 months. And I was seeing a psychologist who had me convinced I was making the injury up, which is the depression and struggle. Because he's like, well, they can't find anything. And like in his defense, they couldn't find anything. Well, I ended up being diagnosed with the rarest brain injury of all time. It's called horror fusion. And any injury that has the word horror in it sucks. Right. You know what I'm saying? I was like, when you guys like labeled this, did you walk this through your brain? Yeah, we're going to tell this dude horror. And horror just means doesn't work together, doesn't fit together. And so the reason why it's so rare is to survive the impact is very rare because the injury is 3 centimeters from the brainstem. And basically what it does is your eyes work independently of each other. And so to make this kind of easy, imagine you have one eye you see 20/20 and the other one you see 20/60. Okay. But it's like two individual lenses and they don't work together. So you got to pick one. So your brain's constantly going back and forth. Well, what happens? Vertigo, vomiting, nausea, motion sickness, a number of other things. And so we're going through all this, and it takes them 15 months to finally figure it out, right? So I'm like, all right, well, what's next? And they're like, well, we're going to send you down to the University of Michigan Kellogg Eye Center. And they met me this great guy, Dr. Sandel, and he said, well, we got this thing we could do. And I'm like, okay, well, what's the thing? He said, it's an eye realignment surgery. And it's really important when you talk to doctors to get definitions. And you'll find I'm a definition person because he used the word slight discomfort. And I'm like, all right, as a doctor, what is slight discomfort? So I said, explain the injury, right? So it's like, okay, we're gonna tie you down.
That's not a good sign, by the way.
Red flag. I was like, okay, is this saying, hello, Clarice, you're going to tie you down, and then we're going to knock you out. Then we're going to cut into the white part of your eye. Then we're going to wake you up. During. We're going to adjust it and knock you back out. But don't worry, you won't remember anything. I'm like, okay, there are several flags here that need to be. First of all,
great story.
Yeah, cool story, bro.
If it's someone else.
Yeah, don't touch my stuff.
Right.
So seriously, they lock you down like Hannibal Lecter with leather straps from your head to your ankles because apparently your eyes are sensitive. Right. And they said, we're going to give you this midnight thing and we're going to knock you out and then you don't have any pain receptors in your eyeball. He said, and then we're going to cut in through your eye, and then we're going to cut the muscle, wake you up to adjust it. And he's like, you won't remember. I said, you have a drug that allows me not to remember what you're doing to my body while you're cutting into it. Right. He's like, yeah. I was like,
yeah, they watch too many movies.
Right. Dude, I'm like, note to self, don't hang around these people later, right? Like, no, but whatever. So I go in. I said, well, what's the chances of success? He said, half. I said, 50%. He's like, no. 0.5%. I was like, there's a 99.5% chance of failure. He said, yeah. I was like, what else is there? He said, nothing. I was like,
and with it being so rare,
yeah,
it's not like they have enough cases.
No, there's 7. I'm number 8.
To get really good at this.
Right.
Right?
No.
So it's like, I don't know, like making your first cake, right?
Well, let me explain to you what he said. He said, basically what it's like is I have to pick the spot that your brain sees from. And he said, it's kind of like shooting an arrow trying to hit the bullseye, but in the dark. I'm like, that sounds impossible. He's like, right. Well, that's why there's a 0.5% chance. Right. It's like, there's some good news.
Right.
But what do you do, right? So we go in, we do surgery. 3 months therapy, 3 months recovery. By the way, he said, it's not going to hurt your eyeball because there's no pain receptors. But in your muscle, your eye only hurts when your eye moves.
Oh, all the time.
Right. So just take 10 seconds and see how many times it's like, ow, 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 right? And it's like 3 months of this. And the white part of your eye is bloodshot red, right? Because it's recovering. And it's god awful. And 3 months recovery, 3 months therapy, go in, didn't work. He's like, don't worry about it. I got the number 1 surgeon in the United States because you're such a rare case. He wants to take it. So he comes in. He's like, all right, we're going to do the surgery. So we repeat it. Strapped down, knocked out, cut through the eye. 3 months, didn't work. Do it again.
Now you're at 2 years now.
Now we're at 3 years. I did it 4 times. He comes in on the 4th one, walks in, number 1 surgeon in the United States, says, all right, I'm sorry, Mr. Walsh, it didn't work. Your life is over. By the way, no one lives past 20 years. Good luck. Slams the door. His assistant's bawling. I got to console her on my life-altering news.
So he's got great bedside manner.
Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to laugh through this.
No.
Because your attitude is so good towards this approach. And that's why I invited you in today. because from the day I met you, I thought, okay, this guy has been through all this. How couldn't you be excited? Because you were a study that said that I can't make it.
Yeah.
And why I bring that up right now during this session is, if you're out there and you're struggling with something, take these small stories that are huge and people recovering through some of this stuff. But it was a decision that Isaac had to make at some point to say, I want to live, number one. Number two, I want more out of life for me and my family. And so I'm willing to go through these things. And that if you're out there and you're listening to this podcast and maybe you're struggling with a personal item, maybe you're struggling with a drug addiction, maybe you're struggling with an accident like this, I don't know what you're struggling with, or maybe life's just beat you down and you said, man, I don't know what I can really do, and I really don't see any options. It doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people contemplate some very bad decisions during that time.
Yeah.
Where it's just self-destruction maybe, or maybe suicide. Any of those things can come into anyone's mind at any given time, depending on where you're at in life. And I want to tell you there's options. There's resources. He works with how many different nonprofits?
59.
59 nonprofits. One of those 59 are going to have a service that we can help you with. Two, if you're looking for jobs, we'll find a way to develop jobs with you. So don't quit. This is my time during your story to say, don't quit. And I want you to just kind of finish up where that happened and then what got you back on the road.
Yeah, so great segue, by the way. Brought to you by Newton Services, and thank you for your support. So we went through that, and there were several things, several funny stories, but I got to the point I'd stuck in my house for 7 years, and I couldn't leave, and I was allergic to the sun with one of the medications that I had. My skin would turn purple, so imagine being able to sit there in June and see the deck. Yeah. And you can't walk outside. It was very depressing.
Can't smell it, can't see it.
Can't see it, can't smell it. So there was one funny thing that happened, if I may.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I told you the assassin story or not. I think I did.
Yes, you did.
So I'm going to share that one. I'm going to spare the other two.
This is great. If you were already going to turn this off, I assure you this is worth listening.
All right. So I had seen a neurologist. He said you can't get better, and if you go to, you get a second opinion, right? Right. And then the second opinion, same thing. So I kept getting second opinions. Well, I had about second opinion 30. They didn't understand that no, it's not one of the answers.
Right.
See, your box tells you it's impossible. I live with this. You go home and have cake and ice cream, and I get up and I got to live with this. So no's not one of the answers. So I don't really care how many times the doctor said no. So we're in the 30 range of no's. And I'm a persistent person. And at the time I was playing Call of Duty, I was stuck in my house. I was top 5 in the world in hardcore team deathmatch because
that's what you had to do.
That's what I had to do. And if you're going to do a job, be good at it, Right. And so every time you go into the doctors, you fill out the thing: name, drugs, 11 of them, surgeries, 13 surgeries, blah 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 blah. Hobbies, and I was like, oh, assassin. I kill people online. It's a thing. And so I go and I see the doctor, looks exactly how you think. White dude, brown parted hair, white jacket, tan pants, tan shoes, opens up the file, Mr. Walsh. And then I hear him go, huh. And I was like, yeah, I found it. So he turns around and it says here under hobbies, it says you're an assassin. I said, yes, that's correct. He said, you kill people. I'm like, that is the definition of an assassin. That's correct. So he looks at me, takes a couple steps away, and he says, you really kill people? And I said, listen, if I have to answer every question 3 times, this is going to take a really long time, move on. And honestly, I'd had my fun, and from a brain injuries perspective, that was funny.
Right. You didn't realize that wasn't funny for the audience.
Yeah, he wasn't having a good time. So then he takes a step towards the door, and he turns his head to the left, and he's got this little smirk on his face, and he says, do I have to call security? And Ron, as calm as I could tell him, I said, you can. They're just not going to make it here in time. And he went from smirk to sheer terror, which was the funniest thing I had ever seen. And I'm laughing hilariously, and he is so mad at this point because he was terrified, right? And he asked me not to come back, and I'm like, it is a brain injury. So there's like side effects that may or may not be. Please see the signed detail. And I realized then I'm never going to have friends again for the rest of my whole life because that was funny to me. Right? So we're getting through that, and like I said, I was stuck in my house for 7 years, and I got so depressed, man. I couldn't go to family functions. I couldn't hang out with my friends. Everybody had to be quiet when I was there. I could only hang out for 2 hours, and I got to sleep.
And that dynamic changes your in family too. The wife and children,
dude, because you're like you're under glass. And it's like, oh, you're going to break them. Dude. And they feel terrible. Right. And then everybody's like, what can I get you? And then you feel like a jerk because everybody's catering and there's nothing you can do. And it's like, how was the food? Well, I puked. It was a migraine, not the taste, I swear. Right. It's that kind of stuff. And it's like, so you get there and I realized I didn't have any value, no purpose. Right? And I'm like, God, like I could do my family a favor by not being here. So I planned it. And I knew what I was going to do, and I'm sitting on my steps, I'm getting ready to get it done. And I'm like, all right, God, like, this is it. Like, if you're real. And I've never been, like, a faith person. Those people have always come across fake. They're more worried about what they look like than what they do. When they don't want to do something, they say they pray for you. That was just my experience, you know what I'm saying?
I got him out of the loop.
Yeah.
Hey, can I bring some lasagna over?
Yeah, I'll put that in the, fake grass category. That was just my mindset. It's not a judgment. It's an observation of
I get it.
And but in that moment, this little voice was like, all things work together for good, which half scared me and half pissed me off. Because I don't have little voices talk to me on a regular. And the little voice said, what do you want? And I thought. And Ron, I said, I thought a long time. I was like, I want wisdom. If I can understand what I'm doing here and what I'm supposed to do, I'll do it all in. And I'm like, I'll give it 100% shot. So I started studying Proverbs that day, and I started learning things. And I took 4 years, and I took the entire book of Proverbs and separated the entire thing out by category, not for religious understanding of script, but rather application in life. Yeah. Why do I lie? Why do I get pissed off? Why is a guy everything just funnel into irritation? Like, why do I do that stuff? And I started figuring out answers. And I'll tell you the first one. I don't know about you, but I had an anger issue. As a guy. Yeah. And then you'd use sports. Use sports as a justification. Well, it was in the heat of competition. I slapped the taste out of your mouth. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. But actually, I really would have. Because I was that guy. And so it says a soft answer turns away wrath. I'm like, that's great in theory. Right? But then I'm in an argument.
When you're in the fire.
Dude, right. And that's who you are. The mask is stripped. And when you're in that moment, right? And that little voice come in there. And we're yelling at each other. And that soft answer. So I'm sitting there yelling at this dude, and I was like, all right, you might as well give it a shot. I mean, this is proof, scientific proof of process. So a person's yelling at me, and I said just like this, right in the middle of an argument. I said, I can hear you. And I said just like that. And the person looked at me, and they were like, I know. And they calmed down. I was like, oh, my God, it worked. Like, I got to get in another argument. You got to prove the theory. Right? It's like I need another argument, which wasn't hard in my life at that time because I was a little angry. And it started working. And I'm like, crap, this actually works. Like, what else do I do? And so I started studying that. And to learn about others, I studied my failures and the things I struggled with. Anger, depression, lying, jealousy, envy, hatred, all those things. And I'm like, dude, I do all this stuff. And so I had to get down to why I did those things.
And during that period, did all those things magnify when you were going through this journey?
Yeah, super great question, dude. So like when you, like anything, like as a veteran, when you're peering down at when you're looking at a target, you see clearly. And when you don't want to see clearly, you justify. I justify negative actions. Well, it's all right because, if you weren't a prick, then I wouldn't have had to say. And then, but what you do when you do that is you let everyone else control you because then you're responding to how they're treating you instead of you being real.
Wow.
So then
that's wisdom.
Yeah.
That's wisdom right there.
So I'm like, this is the guy I'm going to be. And I had someone come up to me, I don't really like that. We had a disagreement about something. And I said, well, not liking it's one of the options. And I said, I just told you like 5 super good things I was doing. Right, I was bragging about you guys. In case your ears was ringing, that wasn't tinnitus. That was me bragging about you. And the guy was like, and I said, man, I met these great guys at the cigar shop. And he's like, oh, you're a dirty cigar smoker. And I stepped.
That's the one thing they found.
Yeah. And I said, it's not interesting that you found something about me you don't like. What's interesting, because I'm not perfect, right? I said, what's interesting is you're looking for it. Because that just tells me you're not actually my friend, which is fine, but you don't have to pretend anymore. And now we know.
Right.
dude, their brains snapped. And that's just wisdom. It's just identifying information. And I learned all this stuff, and I applied it. And then guys started coming to me and like, hey, can I just bounce some things off you? And I started helping them in their business life, their personal life. And I didn't plan for that to happen. It just started happening because wisdom's just wisdom. And if you see it, you see it. And if you don't, you don't.
Well, it's interesting, the Old Testament, not to be biblical today because I've got a lot to learn in that area and obviously I'm
Don't we all, bro?
But the one thing I always have got out of Proverbs is it's just factual.
Yeah.
Like it's facts that if we lived on, whether you believe in God or not, if you just follow those words for the rest of your life, you'd live a better, cleaner life.
Well, when people say that I'm, that's a proverb, they're just talking about wisdom. Mm-hmm. So if you apply the action, I'm a hyperlogical person. Feelings have never produced a good outcome for me, so I don't like to listen to them.
No, they have never for me either.
You're right.
If I let emotion take over,
100%.
So again, what we do in the nonprofit is work with people with, physical and cognitive disabilities. Mm-hmm. And some people don't have the mindset to be able to proverb through.
Yeah.
They don't have the wisdom because they've always dealt with things in an anger management mode.
Yeah.
Right? Like I have been in the past.
Yeah.
Right? Fight or flight.
Yeah.
Well, I never chose flight. I wish I would have.
Like Ron, did you know like not being mad was one of the options?
I did not.
I didn't even know that was an option.
I swear to God, as you were talking, as all these years of being pent up with anger, of childhood trauma, and my dad committed suicide, and all this stuff, I didn't know not being mad was an option.
Me either.
I thought because when you're playing football, I played football at a high level,
and you were a high level player,
and I played, but I played with anger almost.
Of course.
That was why
rage.
That's why I was little and could do the things I did.
Yeah.
But then in real life, you're like, well, I can't run around and tackle people.
Yeah.
But I kind of did.
And I'll tell you how bad I was. You're going to relate to this. It's the only reason I'm telling you the story. It's embarrassing. I'm sitting there talking to a buddy of mine. I was about 23. I got out of the military, and he's like, Isaac, you're going out and you're hitting these guys at the bar. You got to stop doing that. And I was like, of course I don't. And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, let me explain to you. I said, remember that guy that was talking trash to you when you went to get the drink? He said, yeah. And I said, and then I slapped the taste out of his mouth. He said, yeah. He said he stopped talking trash, right? He was like, yeah. It's like, problem, solution. Look, problem, solution. You had a problem and I solved it. A simple thank you.
Right.
It's a place, right? And I never even imagined that, you don't have to put all that out there because I'm trying to prove to myself I'm a man.
Right.
Well, once you're a man, I don't have to prove that to you. It doesn't matter what you think. But I didn't know those things.
I didn't know those things.
Yeah.
I'm just learning in life right now. Like, I think sometimes humility will bring you to a place where you have to deal with it one-on-one, right?
Yeah.
You got to, there's things that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to go to a therapist.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. That seemed weak.
Yeah, you're not a man.
I'm not a man anymore.
Share your feelings and cry.
Yeah. And then deal with these situations that have come along life and then face the mistakes I've personally made.
Yeah.
Like having to deal with what I've done wrong to my family or my wife or my business or life in general or my own self-destruction mode, right?
Yeah.
I've just been fortunate enough that God kept me on the map long enough to have some success.
Yeah.
But I didn't get there because I really probably deserved it.
Yeah, and that's when I tell people with my story is like, just to finish up, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally lost that. It was all my bad. And I just like hanging out with you as a human being.
Yeah, me too.
So like, I was only the 8th case they ever had. No one drove. No one's functional. No one works. You can't. No one's been able to go outside because of the motion. So like, I deal with like the walls and the floors look like water. Like,
is that still?
Yeah. You have to, like, I've trained myself to not focus on them.
Okay.
And then I focus on small things instead of large
This
things.
is dirty water in here.
Oh, yeah, it looks beautiful. I like it. And it looks like a beach.
All right.
And, so I made a list of all the things they said I couldn't do. It took me 3 years to get my license back. I had to go to the training for 18 months. And then another 12 months to pass. And then I passed the driver's test and threw up right afterwards. But I passed that sucker. And I could only drive my car for 30 minutes, but I could drive. Like, it was important to get that license back. Right.
It's a little bit of our identity as men.
Yeah, well, and freedom to go, like, if I want to go get a Coke,
right?
You can't go get a Coke, you know what I'm saying? And it's a stupid problem, something that lacks sense, stupid. Mm-hmm. And then, they said that you can't be social, which having, I told you some of the embarrassing things, telling that doctor, like, it was like, man, I have to really concentrate on what I'm saying. So that's why when I'm talking to somebody and I'm saying something, I've really thought that through. So if I'm making a point to disagree with you in the kindest possible way I can, it's because I haven't found a way to get there. And I'm not telling you to be right. It's because I want you to win. And then once people meet you and they see that and you're real, it's so rare, which I didn't understand, because we have the ability to be fake, and and I just don't have that ability. So it's like, well, I don't like that. Why?
I kind of like that feature that you got from it.
Yeah, me too. Because you know how someone tells you something, like the worst thing is do something or don't do something, but don't tell somebody you're going to do something and then don't do it, like because then they're counting on you to get it done, and it's and that's like the worst kind of lie, like a deceit. And it's like, if I can't do it, I can't. Or let me try. Let me see what I can do. But be that guy. Yeah. Don't not be that guy. So I'm just that guy. And when I come to my friends and I tell them, they'll ask my opinion because they know I'll tell them the truth, because I kind of don't have the ability.
Have a choice.
You're like, yeah, that's like my buddy. He was like, oh, try this wine. And I was like, God, that's so bad. And he was like, really? And I'm like, the aftertaste is ashy. I was like, it's too dry on the front end. It tastes kind of tart. And he's sitting there writing notes. And I was like, I'm really sorry about that. He's like, oh, that's great. And when I realized is like, you want to know, does that podcast suck? Does it suck? How does it suck? Which way does it suck? Right? And then that's good information. But then you got people that are just telling you what you want to hear, and then you always got to gauge it. It's like, dude, stop being murky.
That's why, like, some of our recruiters, I think some of our best recruiters in this office when they do well is when they're being honest with someone. When they say, hey, you know what? You need to work on your hygiene. Hey, you need to work on a haircut. Hey, you need to work on, sharpening up a little bit. And problem resolution is one of the things. Like, as you were discussing that, some things with bells were going off, because I've had this agency since I was 08, the for-profit side, the intelligence side. And Newton didn't come for much later because I knew there was a need. And I'm always a need-based person, right? I'm like, okay, well, why are we all messed up? Right? And how do I help people? Because we'd have people come in, and we've had people come in smelling like drugs, smelling like alcohol, wrong dress attire for a job, an FU hat on, and
So that's weird, or
I
don't know why they didn't like me.
Yeah, why didn't they like me? And I was like, you're going to deal with people on the job.
Yeah.
Somebody said not too long ago in this office, well, I don't like that person. I said, well, what does that have to do with anything?
Right. You're allowed to not like them. It's one of the options.
It's one of the options.
Now what?
I stole your line, by the way.
Yeah, it works, right?
It's one of your options.
Yeah.
But what I have realized, if you will learn to overcome those things, those dynamics of life, of not having to like everyone, but seeing the value in that person.
100%.
And just being honest with the situation, but being calm in it. We can elevate ourselves. Maybe you don't want to be a speaker. Maybe you don't want to go and be part of a nonprofit. What if you just want to be the best, you. Yeah. Yes, your version, best you version. And maybe it's a good job. Maybe it's you don't need the money, and it's just being a better person and dealing with things of the past of your family and getting back on track of building a relationship with your children, being wise for them. I think that's the wisdom I'm taking from this today. Again, I'm not trying to put you in a spot where, because a lot of people will take folks that have done really well at something or overcame something, and they want to see them fall.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee I have a list of people who love to see me fall.
Yeah, keep it alphabetical.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's easier to find. I'll be.
Right.
Yeah, like I have, I'm on disability, right? And all the things that God has allowed me to accomplish, everyone said it was impossible. And the one thing that he kind of took away from me is like, what is the value of something? If the value of something is the impact that it has, then the outcome of the people that you're hanging out with must have impact. And that has nothing to do with whatever their plan is or their idea. Right. If you come in, you and I talk, you're an honest person. You shoot ideas, I shoot ideas, yes, no, maybe, and that works brilliantly. Absolutely. And we work very well together, and I love hanging out with you as a person, and if he says he's going to do it, he will do it. That's just the answer.
Thank you.
Well, it's just the truth. It's just the answer.
And sometimes it's painful.
Oh, dude!
When you come in and you're like, man, I don't have the time, I don't have the ability to do that right now.
Or you go to help people here, and you're like, here's and it's like, you got to do this. And then they won't do that thing. And it's like, dude, you're choosing to fail. Like, how do I help you when you choose that? That's
well,
tough.
and I think that's why we get frustrated, and that's why
Yeah.
we created the nonprofit, because we realized in the marketplace there was a sector of us people, right?
Mhm.
And we're walking around, and we just like I would lead them to the water, and they wouldn't drink it.
Right.
Even internal people.
Yeah.
And that's when I started hiring for culture, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I started looking at how do we help people that just haven't been helped. They don't know any better, right? So if you give them the tools, it's one thing. Now that's on them. But what if they just don't have the tools?
Yeah.
Right? You had to figure out the tools because you were in a situation that they gave you a list of everything you couldn't do and you weren't going to even live.
Yeah.
So
yeah, like if the doctors are right, I got 5 years left, dude. And they may be right, they may not. It doesn't actually matter. You want to know why? Is because everything I do is to help someone else.
Yeah.
Because I get to impact people by helping them with their dreams. Like my favorite thing about you is your idea to help people is how can I help people do things from a profit, nonprofit side, and I want to do both. And I'm like, all right, I can get behind that. And I can support that person and their actions, right? And you're a go person. And so I don't have an agenda because I'm getting promoted before everybody else.
Yeah.
So the only thing that makes sense is to invest in those people that are actually doing the work and don't waste time with those people or not. And you're just a go person, man. That's why, like, if like your next plan, like I got put me in coach, like let me help you, help me, help you, man, because the stuff you're doing is exciting.
We're standing at the coffee. And the first thing you said to me, how can I help you? You threw me off. I'll be honest. I'm like, well, I got a lot I need help with. But you threw me off because most people, when they say, hey, I'd like to help, they really kind of don't mean it. Like if it doesn't inconvenience them, they will.
Yeah.
But if it creates inconvenience, then they probably won't.
Yeah, no, I want to be inconvenienced. I want it to take so much time that I got to divert from here because you're not doing your junk because I can do it over here because I want to be around go people. And then I can say, you know, people ask me, what's your most valuable asset? And I'm just like, that's easy. I know the coolest people.
Right.
I know the coolest people. I surround myself with people who choose to help people. Because you could make it about money. You could make it about power. Absolutely. You just don't do that. Those things happen because you make it about the person.
Right.
And I'm just telling you from an identification point of information of being around you as a human, and that's why I like you as a person. Those are the reasons.
I appreciate that. It's hard to get that compliment, so I appreciate that.
It's just the answer, man.
So when I was a loan officer years ago, I could always tell when I was being effective in my job because I would get invited to the housewarming party. I would get invited to the graduation, the wedding.
Yeah.
And I remember a few years later, I wasn't getting invited anymore. And I thought,
yeah, that's weird.
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I looked at myself in the mirror, right?
It was a you thing?
I was changing my person. I wasn't being legit with people. I wasn't being excited for them buying their new house anymore.
Got it.
It was a money thing.
It was a business.
It was a business. It was a money thing. So I think we have to be careful. Even when success comes, probably is the most
scary. Yeah.
Because you can lose what track you're on.
Yeah.
You know, I got in a scuffle with a gentleman a few years ago and landed me in some trouble. Right?
Nice.
I did the old-fashioned.
Congratulations! All right.
Yeah, I dealt with it the way I knew how to.
That's right.
And I took a minute and I went back and I've actually wrote my eulogy of what people would say about me. And that's changing my life. Now I have not arrived on this. I still have some moments.
Yeah, 100%.
But
when I get perfect, I'll cuss you out.
Yeah, let me know. But I remember writing this eulogy. It was one with anger.
Yeah.
And then I wrote another eulogy of just me after fixing my life and getting it right.
Yeah.
What people said.
What were they like? What was the difference?
Wasn't that crazy? So this one is, man, Ron was fun. Man, he was aggressive. God dang, he was a great fighter, but man, he was a hothead.
Yeah.
You never knew if you could be around him in the room because he might just snap.
Yeah.
Then the other one is, man, what a cool dude, man. Early part of his life, he was a hothead, drank a lot, did a lot of stupid stuff.
Yeah.
All about the money and cars. And then, man, remember that day, man, you could tell a difference when he'd show up in the room. I was like, I wrote both these, and I found myself literally in tears.
Dude, who do you want to be looking
I want
at
this
it?
one.
Yeah,
I want this one.
Right?
You know,
like if I can leave, like for me, what I want before I pass, and you tell me what you think, honestly, I'm really curious, is if the things that I've done have improved the people around me, to prove the impact of what I'm showing them God exists. I think that's what I want.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean?
Man, if I can change my life around,
Yeah.
and let's say it's 5 years. Let's say we both have 5 years.
Yeah.
Would it be cool by the end of the 5 years we get to high five and bump and go,
No.
man, we turned it around, and I know you're already on that path.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of cleanup work to do. I'm still going through the car wash.
Yeah,
right?
dude, that's why we can battle together. Listen, that's why I tell people, take your mental health.
Yeah.
Because mental health is health. And you know where to find me.
Absolutely.
And you come see me and just yak, dude.
Right.
Because it's like I'm not gonna let my friends battle by themselves. I had to do that. That sucks, you know.
And being around you, and I know we don't have a few minutes left. But,
Yeah.
you know, being around healthy people. So if you're in the wrong group, I want to encourage you to either help change the group, if they're that important to you,
Yeah.
or take a moment and let that season pass and find people to be around that are going to be impactful, going to be positive. And that's what leads me to, you know, letting you have your commercial right now. You know, if there is somebody that's struggling with an addiction, you know, how do they find you?
Yeah, so first of all, we have a Celebrate Recovery, which is a faith-based 12-stepper at Emmanuel Church in Flint, off of Richfield. And you can come to that on Thursdays and just check that out. Don't have to say or nothing, just watch. If you're super struggling, need housing or whatever, spiritualwarfareunit.com, and you can click on struggling. And I got over 20 nonprofits there to help, to reach out. So it's really not a commercial for me. It's a commercial for the people that are doing the work. And like if you're struggling, you need a job, you need to get a hold of Newton Services. If you're struggling, you need food. You need to get on there so we can get to the food bank and get that set up, because those people do that job the best. If you need drug rehabilitation, faith-based, I think Salvation Army does the best. I think Life Challenge does the next best. If you're just looking for a place to go, New Pass. Yeah. But all that's already there, and all that stuff free for them. So again, I know the coolest people. So my commercials for my cool friends.
Right.
And like if someone needs a job, we give them your number. If they need housing, we give them their number. Does that make sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
And one of the things I just want to ask,
please,
and maybe it's offline, but I would love for our site to have some of your partners on it too, because I feel like some of the folks that come to us are in a place of they're not even ready for a job.
Right.
Like we got to get some other things fixed first. And so sometimes because we're not that nonprofit. So we're not going to be somebody we're not. But if we have somebody that has a food bank, that has recovery plans, we want to get them in the car wash. So we want to get them healthy.
You know, I think, here's what I think. I think I was going to talk to you about this anyways, is I'm disabled and I'm a vet, and I should get on Newton Services, and I can just be an example for you guys. And whatever money that goes into, I'll just put back so we can make it bigger, and I won't take a penny. How's that sound? Is that good?
Fair enough.
Dude, help the people.
Hey, I want to really thank you. I know for some of you probably like structure, but I'm hoping that a value add would be listening to two guys that have a friendship, that truly care about people, truly love one another. And we're building this relationship, right? It's time. And I've had relationships that you build, and you're like, man, that's a really cool relationship. And then you find out the premise or the base of that friendship really isn't what it appeared to be. Well, I can tell you that this is the real guy across from me, and I appreciate your leadership and what you're doing. You're always willing to help, and you're always saying, hey, come to this event. We're doing this, we're doing that. And I think that brings a lot of value, not from a money standpoint, from a human kind.
Yeah, just people, man.
People. And so I want to thank you for being here today. I appreciate you being part of Newton Services Foundation.
Privilege.
You know, mind your business. If that doesn't make more sense now, let me know, because I'll fix the things of these podcasts. But mind your business means get on top of your business, get it right, stop being a victim if you choose to, because it is your choice, as Isaac would say, that you can say you can be the victim.
Yeah, it's one of the options.
It's one of the options.
Yeah, but if I got to choose to win or succeed,
right on.
It's easy.
Have a great day. See you later.